Guys, what's up? In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Midjourney to create awesome designs like this that get a lot of traction on, let's say, Twitter or Dribbble and stuff along those lines, and how easy it is to create something like this. Once you actually have this design, like for example, creating a completely other design by just changing the image is just going to be a matter of minutes. You can change the text, you can change the content button and stuff along those lines, and you're going to have a new design. So let's start with Figma. You go in Figma, you go and create, let's say, a MacBook Air screen. Let's go with a dark background for now because we're going to be creating a dark hero section. Let's go to one of the websites that we have here, which allows us to actually get some free logos for our design. So I'm just going to copy this one. This is like UI logos. This is Logo Ipsum. We've been using that in a lot of our conceptual designs. You can actually check them out as well. Anything that you like. Depends on what we actually want to create. Let's maybe create, actually, let's just find out some images that we want to do. So I'm going to find out, do we want to create an architectural design? Do we want to create, let's say, some technology focused design? What do we want to create? Let's just make a decision. Why don't we just go ahead and actually create home power or something along those lines? Let's search for home power in the explore tab, and you're going to start getting a lot of visuals. So home power, okay, these screens look good. Home power, home automation can also be okay. Let's search for home automation. Let's search for home automation. Let's see any visuals that we get. Okay, we're getting a lot of nice visuals. I really like this one. This one is good. Let's just go ahead and actually choose this one. Okay, so we're going to choose this. We're going to copy this. We're going to copy this. And let's change the prompt. A sleek modern home with smart, okay, whatever it is. Yeah, the home message, so on and so forth. Include the text. We don't want to include the text. That's pretty much it. That's what we want to create. Let's go ahead and actually say that I want to have a landscape image, actually 16 by 9. I think that's, or 3 by 2, 16 by 9. Actually, let's just go with 16 by 9. Let's go in the relax mode because we don't want to waste our credits, and that's what I would recommend to you. And let's just have it generate this initial image for us. While this image is generating, actually, it's not going to take that long. Hopefully, it's going to be done in a few seconds. In the meantime, I'm just going to go to Figma. I am going to grab a logo here. Okay, the image is pretty much done. I am just gonna grab, which image do I like? I really like this one, so let's just go ahead and actually add that in. And this one is pretty good as well. We can potentially do this one as well. Let's actually go with this one and say I want to vary it strong just to actually get some more visuals on this one. I also like this one, so I'm going to say vary it strong. So it's going to give us some variations of both of them. And let's just see some variations that we get. Okay, so I think the circle logo actually makes sense because we're talking about, like, let's say automation that does something and covers everything or whatever it is. So we're just going to go ahead, reduce the size. We're going to make this white, and our logo is pretty much done. There you go. And obviously we have to reduce it slightly more because this looks too big. Is it too big now? Maybe. Let's just go ahead and actually, now these are little things that you obviously have to know, that not to make the logo bigger, too big. Make, obviously the text needs to be really nice as well. Let's go with products, and we just need to enter one text. That's it. And we're going to duplicate this particular text for the labels or for the links. Let's just go ahead and actually duplicate 5 of them. Press enter to select all of them and just go with rewrite. And I'm going to say write, these are just my menu links. So I don't care what these menu links are because obviously this is not for a real client. So yeah, our collection, featured items, whatever, this looks good. Okay, our collections, featured item, best sellers, new arrivals. Let's go ahead and remove these, and I think this is fine. And let's just go ahead and actually have one for the contact. Okay, so our header is pretty much done. We just need a button on the right. So let's just go ahead and actually add a button. What should the button say? Buy now. Okay, let's go ahead and actually have all of this within an auto layout. Obviously, let's go ahead and make this button white. We have to decide, should we give it a border radius? Are we going flat? Maybe a border radius that's like this should pretty much be okay. Let's give this a semi-bold. And for the most part, you don't even have to worry about all of the little details because people just look at the image and they're awestruck. Unfortunately, that's the state of Twitter and a lot of different places right now. They don't even care about the little details. But I like to obviously have little details. You just make sure it's balanced and everything looks good. The logo needs to be slightly larger in my opinion, so let's make it 24 pixels. Okay, one other minor thing is the width of the logo and the button should be the same. Otherwise, the text in the center is not going to be balanced. So the width here is 84. I'm just going to go ahead and actually manually just make it 100. Give it a container again and then make it 100. Okay, so that's 100. And very similarly, I'm going to give this a container and I'm going to make this 100. And actually, let's just give it an auto layout and then make it 100. Okay, that's fine. And this button is also 100. Okay, never mind. I think this is good. Does it look balanced? Let's just center it again. Does it look balanced? I don't think so. Let's just make this font size smaller. Let's make this button slightly smaller. I'm going to make it hug content and I'm going to reduce the top and bottom spacing. A lot of people actually really like small buttons and stuff along those lines for whatever reason, and we're going to make the font smaller as well. Okay, I think our header section is done. Once we actually have the image, we can add a background to it. Okay, so the header section is done. Let's just figure out what image we're using. So we're going to go back to Midjourney and see some of the visuals that I actually generated. This visual looks good, but unfortunately, there's a lot of focus here on the automation. I'm not sure about that one. This one actually looks good. And I, however, don't really like this particular text. So let's just go ahead and actually on the editor, I'm going to go on the editor and I'm going to remove this particular part because we don't need the text, and I'm going to submit it. Once I submit it, it's actually going to start recreating this image. You can actually go to the create tab and it's going to start recreating this, and we're going to come back when it's actually done. Okay, so I think we have a bunch of images. We just have to decide which image to use. Let's just go ahead and actually use this one if we want, or we can use this one as well. It completely depends. You can keep on playing with the image until you actually like it. This one is fine. This one is also fine. Let's just go ahead and use both. Now I'm just going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to drop the image and I'm going to say, I want to create a hero section based on this image. Give me the details of the content. That's it. Something simple like that. Obviously, you can rephrase it in whatever way you want. By the time it's actually giving us that, let's just go ahead and actually move the image here. Let's just enlarge it, move it back, place it slightly here. Actually, we can move it slightly here. Okay, so this looks good. Headlines, experience the future of smart living, makes sense. Let's go ahead and add that, enlarge it, resize it, left align it, give it slightly higher line height. Experience the future of smart living. Okay, I think experience the future of smart living. I'm just trying to see what balance actually looks good. Maybe this is fine. Let's go ahead and actually make this an auto layout and add this particular text in there. Make it 24 pixels or something smaller. It can slightly be in 2 lines as well, something like this. Give it slight opacity, like 80%. And we need to add, let's say, a linear gradient on the top. So let's go ahead and actually add a linear gradient, move it here. Okay, so we have the left, actually flip it, and this gradient is going to be, let's say, 50%. And here we are going to basically not have the gradient on the right because we want that image to be displayed. We can slightly move the gradient like this, so the text is slightly more readable on the left. Okay, so this looks good. Maybe we can enlarge this slightly more as well. Experience the future of smart living. I think this is fine, but we can slightly increase it like that. On here, the line height can slightly increase as well. Okay, so that's done. For the button, we can just copy this button at the top. It can be white or it can be something else as well. Let's just go ahead and see what button text it actually gave us. Call to action, explore smart solutions. That's fine. Let's have explore smart solutions here. Obviously, the text is going to be slightly larger on this button. Let's give it 16 pixels here, 20 pixels here. Smart solution, that's fine. Let's make it an auto layout here. This particular button is the second button. So let's say learn more. Maybe add some text in there as well. I'm just going to use arrow minus right and use font awesome just to quickly generate the button. There you go. This particular button can be slightly more different, obviously, than the previous button. Let's make it an opacity. Let's give the text white. Should the text be white? Yeah, I think white is fine. Maybe the opacity slightly needs to be more, 24. Let's go to our effects, say background blur. We want to blur the background just for the button to actually look slightly more nuanced. Okay, that's fine. For the another effect, just to make this button look a bit nicer, inner shadow, white, and this y-axis can actually be 0. And let's see if the opacity we need to increase the opacity, or we need to increase this. So I think now we're getting sort of a good feel, but the opacity slightly can go down. That's fine. Let's add a stroke as well, maybe. Linear, up. This can be reduced in opacity, and reduce the whole stroke in opacity. Okay, I think that's pretty much done. Now, obviously, we can post this as well, or we can go and take a next step. We can actually give this prompt to AI as well and have it generate something else, or we can do something else as well. We can say circle 2.0 released, or something along those lines. Let's just copy this particular text as well, or this icon. Have both of these things in line, center aligned. And what do we call it? Do we have any AI circle? Something, actually not circle. Let's remove that and have a, first of all, we're going to have obviously a background to this. This is going to be hug content. This background can slightly be opacity. There should be an opacity as well. This should be 16 pixels. The border radius can be 8 pixels and slightly more, maybe something like this. This can be green, perhaps. I'm not sure if we are using green. Actually, we can use this particular color that we have here. Something like this, semi bold. Obviously, the text needs to be much smaller. Oh, and this needs to be, should this be white or should this be something else? It can be black as well, something like this. And I think this should also slightly be more white. That's fine. And let's see if this looks good. No, the padding, the height needs to be slightly enlarged. So, okay, the height is slightly large. And we're going to go ahead and actually add some indicators in there as well. Like, for example, this color, obviously it should be much brighter. And let's actually group this and duplicate it, enlarge it, and then enlarge it again. And unfortunately, I shouldn't have grouped this. I should have actually made this a frame. So I'm going to show you, if I make this a frame, the group size does not increase, so I can enlarge it like this. Obviously, the group doesn't need to have a clip content, and enlarged and then enlarged again. So this gives a nice feel as to what the hell is going on. And then obviously the spacing here needs to be reduced slightly. I think it can be 12. That's fine. And I think this just adds a bit more nuance here. That's good. What else can we actually add? Now, since obviously we are generating a hero section with an AI image, we don't really have a lot of originality here, right? We're just generating an image, and some people may just do that and start getting likes. But I want to tell you like how you can actually explore a bunch of different things as well. So imagine you have this image. Instead of actually giving it the image like this, you can have an image like this, and you can post it as well. Like, for example, this can be another variation. Another variation can be something like this, where the header is actually separate. Another variation can also be maybe something like this, where you actually not something like this, where the text actually is slightly overlapping this particular section, and you have something like this. You can try a bunch of different variations, but we're going to go with this one. Let's just go ahead and copy this as an image and ask AI, what else can we do with this? Let's just, and also you can also play around with this if you want. You don't have to. Just go ahead, give this a padding, choose a fill, make this fill black, and give this black an opacity, and just give it a border radius. It's just going to give this a nice feel. 16 pixel in top bottom padding. As you can see, it's already looking good. Okay, so now that we have this, let me just copy this and see what else AI thinks we can add. I think this opacity is slightly larger. Let's just go ahead and actually reduce it to something like this. One other thing that we can actually add is we can add a glow to this particular text. And the way to add a glow is, or we can add a glow, or we can add a gradient. Let's try the gradient first. Okay, so we have a gradient here. This particular text actually needs to be this color that we have here. I think it can potentially work. So that's, why is this greenish? I don't want this to be green. I want this to be slightly this color. Okay, I think that's fine. This is slightly giving a blend of that particular effect. Okay, so I think this is pretty much close to done. We can obviously add a lot more detail, but I think this should be enough to actually get you a bunch of likes. There are a few other elements that you can obviously add. Like for example, I can just go ahead and add another section here. Let's go ahead and actually just drop this at the bottom. Copy this, say featured in, and reduce the text size to be slightly like this. Just grab a bunch of random logos from some of the logo sites that I've sent you, like for example these. Auto layout all of them. Actually, let's just move this one slightly bottom. Auto layout all of them. Have them side by side, 24 pixels. This one obviously should be reduced to match some of the other ones, and make them vertically centered, and basically make all of them white. Okay, so once that's done, you can just go ahead and actually include them directly here. This should still be, I think, reduced. Maybe something like 40 pixels should be fine, or 32. Sorry, 32 pixels. Yeah, I think this looks good. Let's go ahead and actually reduce the size here. And I think this is probably okay. And now we just need to visually center them. Let's just move this slightly at the top. Let's basically have this at the bottom. Let's say space in between. So the logos, the featured in, can be sort of an afterthought, but this text should actually be centered to this particular device. And I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's how you go ahead and actually create a hero section using some of the Midjourney images. Obviously, you have to put in some of the effort here because the Midjourney image itself is not going to save you. Actually, let's just try to use the previous image that we generated. What was the other image? Was it this one? No, I think let's try the other image that we have as well and see if that works well with something like this. Let's go ahead and save this image. So this one is saved. Let's paste it here. Paste it here, and instead of obviously pasting it here, just copy this image from here, go here, paste it here, move this down, and you can see how this particular thing looks. I don't think it looks as nice as that particular image because we obviously structured our content and everything based on that. So yeah, that's how you go ahead and actually create something like that. Another thing to actually take it to the next level as well is Dribbble actually has a 1600 by 1200 screen size to actually post these images. So just go ahead and actually copy this as an image. Actually, what I suggest is when you actually copy the image, just go 2x here. Oh, one other thing that people keep on doing on Twitter for whatever reason is adding a lot of useless noise, even though it may not necessarily be needed, but people just like that for whatever reason. So we're going to go ahead and do the same because we're doing this to get a bunch of likes. So add a noise. There you go. I think the noise should be at the bottom here. Yeah, the noise effect is here. Can we see it? Obviously we can't see it because it's at the bottom. Let's just move it slightly close to the top and reduce the opacity. Now, as you can see, I can see it if I remove it, add it, remove it, add it. You can add a new noise using this particular plugin or any of the other plugin. It just adds some detail. Let's remove this from here a bit, and this detail should be here, and there you go. For the Dribbble section, as I mentioned, just copy this image at 2x. I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to go ahead and actually paste it here, slightly reduce it in size, and it already looks good in my opinion, but we can also add a bunch of blobs and glows in the back as well. Like for example, I can go to blobs. I can give this a particular, just generate some random blobs here. I need a bit more complexity. Uniqueness shouldn't be there. Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead, bring this behind the image, have it here. Give this a color. We can also give this a color, or we can use just a web gradient that is similar to the color that we want to use. Go to the colors. We want blue. Let's give this. Okay, effects, layer blur. There you go. Have it widened up, reduced in opacity. Okay, this looks good. Reduced in opacity, just giving this slightly subtle effect here, giving this effect here, and then maybe here, changing the color slightly. Why is this? Okay, so we have this here. Let's change the color on this one. And what else do we have? Okay, I think this looks good. This is standing out a bit too much, so let's reduce the opacity slightly. And there you go. I think this is our Dribbble image, and there's this particular vector. Yeah, maybe it's fine. Maybe this is okay. This is good. And you can now go ahead and actually post this. Yep, that's how you go ahead and actually create a really, it's not quick. Obviously, I added a lot more detail, but you can obviously go ahead and add less detail, but still get a lot of likes. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's how you go ahead and actually create a hero section like this. Now, obviously, I was going slow and trying to explain things to you and playing around with things. But yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward to create things like this and get a lot of traction.